Today's webinar from Transfer Express. My name is Andy Curtis. We're going to be talking about choosing your team uniforms. I hope everybody is having a fantastic December thus far. Thank you for joining us for our monthly webinar. So we're going to be discussing the ins and outs of uniforms during this webinar. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of different topics from styles and pricing to budget stuff and a whole bunch of little bits and pieces. Our goal here is to give you guys the tools necessary to know what types of uniforms to choose and what that means for you as a decorator and what exactly do I do with this uniform and um, what are my options, and hopefully we've got some little tips and tricks and tools for everybody, the newbies and the experienced people as well. And if nothing else, this is one of those topics that it's great to keep up on and always be keeping up on the trends and digesting other options and that kind of stuff. So hopefully we've got a good amount of information for you today, and hopefully everybody takes out a little something. So the chat box is off to the side there. If you are interested in asking a question, if I do not cover something, please feel free to pop your question into the chat box and hit send. My assistant behind the curtain will be helping me watch for those questions. If I do not answer it out loud, they will answer it in the chat box, so keep an eye there. Um, there we go. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So here's what we're going to cover in the next half hour, 45 minutes, give or take. We're going to talk about budget. We're going to talk about printing needs, meaning if this is the type of uniform I want to print, what exactly am I going to do with it? What kind of transfers am I going to put on it? What can I put on it? We're going to talk about colors available for the different products, not the jerseys here. We're going to talk about colors of transfers available and how to plan some of that stuff. We're also going to talk about size and fit. A couple little vocabulary words that people don't often understand. This is going to be something for the newbies there. We're going to talk about some selling features that you'll hear. So I guess, again, with the vocabulary words. And then we're going to talk about some sports needs for each individual sport. So we're going to cover a whole bunch of different stuff. Let's bust into the budget here first. So just to clarify for everybody, when you are talking to your customer, when you have the opportunity to put in a bid for a league, when you have the opportunity to be doing a whole team or you're the one developing the uniforms, when somebody has walked into your shop and they're looking for options, one thing that, and I'm sure there are people out there that could attest to this, if you give people too many options, you overwhelm them, you can very easily make life more difficult for yourself than necessary. So I'm about to show you two examples of how instead of whipping out a catalog full of uniforms and flipping through every style of uniform known to man, boil the choices down. Boil it down to a good, a better, and a best. In terms of pricing and quality, a good, a better, and a best option. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So here is some baseball options. So what we're looking at here is a good, a better, and a best. So the good option is the t-shirt. T-shirt only costs $3, especially if it's a little kids league. If we're talking super young, we might not necessarily want to bust out a whole bunch of money for those uniforms, t-ball, that kind of stuff. Just having a t-shirt that has the team's name on it is enough for a little kid to get real excited about. We all know that. So a good option is a t-shirt. They only cost $3, right? So a better option, if you've got a team that's got a little bit more cash to swing around, or perhaps they do have a little bit more skill, maybe a little bit older in terms of age, a wicking performance shirt like this one, and it's got the two-tone sleeve, different tone sleeve from the body. That's a classic baseball style we've all seen before. This is another great option. It's only $6, so still super cost effective for those people who don't have the money or teams that have a little bit of cash to spend. Then you've got your best option. You've got the two-button baseball Henley style performance fabric. This is the more serious baseball getup. This is the one that's going to be a little bit more pricey at $8.50 a piece. But if you've got a team that's definitely skilled, you've got a team that's a little more serious, maybe older kids, definitely a great option. So when you're talking to your customer, you're presenting options to them. Again, instead of presenting them a whole catalog full of stuff that's just going to overwhelm them, boil it down to a good, a better, and a best. All three of these options are totally viable depending on how much money they have, depending on how old the kids are they're working with. And again, by not giving them a whole ton of options, you're not overwhelming them. There are plenty of times where if you present too many options to a customer, then not only do they get overwhelmed, but then you end up with a situation where they tell you, okay, well, you know what, let me think about it, get back to you. And we don't want that. We want to secure that sale right there and then. We want to snag it and lock it down. And sometimes just cutting out tens of hundreds of options is the way to get that to happen. So I also want to throw out there to everybody, and I probably should have said this at the beginning of this slide. Um, I am going to have the model numbers of these shirts displayed. So if you look down at my Wicking Performance shirt there under Better, you'll notice I have 1509 in parentheses there. That's the model number for that shirt. So this is actually one of the shirts that we sell through Augusta Apparel here at Transfer Express. We are really super excited to have added Augusta Apparel to our Transfer Express apparel selection. So Augusta, if you guys aren't familiar with Augusta, go hit our website, log on with your dealer ID and password, check out our blank apparel section and check out Augusta. It is so much in terms of sportswear and sports needs. We're talking everything from baseball pants to football belts to uh, everything in between, bags and hats and jerseys. And Augusta is a great selection of a lot of different sports-related apparel, uniforms, and all that good stuff. Um, so a lot of the examples you're going to see today are Augusta apparel examples, and again, the number in parentheses is the model number for the corresponding garment on our website. Um, so definitely check that out on these budget slides and as well as some of my other slides as we continue. But let's go ahead and keep going with this budget concept. Let's go ahead and look at another example here. So now we're going to look at soccer. So here is another example. Again, we've boiled this down for our customer. We're not giving them a billion examples of jerseys here. We're just going to boil it down to a good, a better, and a best. So we're using the same good option, which is that $3 t-shirt. In the end, that's a fantastic place to start because again, you don't, depending on the skill level of these little kids, you might not want to spend a whole bunch of money on a soccer uniform, or in the end, we might be talking about a neighborhood team that doesn't exactly have the cash to spend on this sort of thing. And in the end, as much as they might want something better than that, t-shirts may be the way they have to go. So always a good place to start. So we've got a stripe tee, model number 364 for $650. This is a slick one. There's a lot of different color combos available for this tee too. So that's another great option. And the stripes on the shoulders and the sleeves scream soccer. We've all seen that style before. So that's a great option for $6.50. Not too shabby. Now, if you've got a team that's got a little bit of extra cash and you want to go the route of wicking fabric, that Elevate wicking jersey is fantastic. Model number 1796, $7.50 a pop. This is a real slick looking jersey. They've got some real sharp colors too. You can't tell very well from my picture here, but it's kind of like a triangular liney pattern in the jersey itself. It's actually real cool. This is very current, very now. So another great uniform option. But again, what we've done here is we've given our customer a much easier selection to make. We've given them three options that are very different. They're varying price levels, in case we're talking to somebody who doesn't have a lot of money to play with here. And definitely a variety. We've got some cotton fabric, we've got some polyester fabric, we've got some wicking fabric. So definitely some great options. So when you're talking to a team and when you're going over options with them, give them three choices: a good, a better, a best, and keep in mind that you want to give them the varying options of price level. All right. This makes life easier for everybody. And just for your own reference, these are good examples of budgetary sort of uh, benchmarks, if you will, in terms of how much money you have to work with. So, all right. So depending on which one of these you've chosen, there's going to be different types of transfers, uh, different transfers to go with different garments and different uses for our different transfers. Either way, the way to look at it is no matter which uniform you go with, we have something to apply to that uniform. It just comes down to being familiar with which one you've chosen. So after your customer has chosen the uniform, make note of, is it wicking? Is it a cotton t-shirt? Is it a polyester dazzle material? What exactly are we working with? Okay. Um, so the three primary transfer types that you're going to use on any uniform, and again, this will cover the gamut here, the whole thing. Goof proof is the most common. Our goof proof is our screen printed plastisol transfer. It doesn't have any extra stretching capacity. Goof proof is our old standby standard. Uh, Goof proof is our best seller. It's simple to apply. Um, Goof Proof applies at 4 seconds for 365 on your Hotronics press, so you can bang those jerseys out real quick. Um, Perfect for t-shirts and sweatshirts, though. There's the catch. So Goof Proof is fantastic. It presses quick, but that heat, that high temperature 365 that it needs, that has the potential to be real messy for a wicking garment and certain polyesters. So that's why we're going to recommend it when you're doing jerseys that are going to be t-shirts and sweatshirts, cotton materials, that type of stuff. So the next selection is ElastiPrints, and we're going to go over more of these examples here in a minute. But the next one is ElastiPrints. This is also screen printed, so it's also plastisol. The ElastiPrints has a great rebound to it, though. Okay, so if you have polyester performance wear has a little bit of a stretch, but not a heck of a lot of a stretch. This is your plain old wicking fabrics. This is the fabrics that aren't necessarily squeezing somebody. And we're going to talk about some vocabulary in a minute when you hear the words compression and fit and that kind of stuff. But ElastiPrints has a good stretch to it, but it's not meant to go on the garments that squeeze your body like a sausage casing. So ElastiPrints is a great middle of the road. And another great feature of the ElastiPrints is that the chemical that makes it stretchy also gives it a real great opacity. So if you're doing light colors, whites, grays on really vibrantly colored garments, the ElastiPrints is nice because it stays real bright and vibrant. CADPrints Opaque is our third option. Now, this is a digital printed vinyl product, so it's not screen printing, it's not plastisol, but the benefit to the CADPrints Opaque is that it applies to everything. If you can fit it into a heat press and it sits flat, the CADPrints Opaque will apply to it. So if you end up having to apply to uniforms, or maybe it's not even uniforms, maybe you're doing the team's warm-up gear or something like that, or workout gear, that kind of thing. If you're applying to spandex, lycra, or nylon, you're going to want to use the CADPrints Opaque. The CADPrints Opaque has the stretch capacity to deal with spandex, more stretch capacity than the ElastiPrints, and it's got the adhesive that will permanently stick to nylon and lycra. We've had plenty of people call us up and say, "Hey, Andy, I put my ElastiPrints or my Goof Proof on nylon, and it peeled off the paper just fine." Yeah, it might peel off the paper okay, but the minute you go to wash that garment, that transfer's coming right off. So you're going to want to stick to the CADPrints Opaque when you're talking about the spandex, the lycra, and the nylon. All right. So let's keep going here. Let's talk a little bit more about goof proof, some examples here for you. So we're looking at some plain old cotton t-shirts here, some of the 3/4 length sleeves. Again, we were looking at these a couple minutes ago. This is the two-tone shirts that have the different colored body and sleeves here. So these are examples of goof proof on these garments. Again, goof proof presses in only 4 seconds. Goof Proof is so versatile. We sell all of our product offering in Goof Proof. So the names you see on these two little boys, the Porter and the Bartow, both of these names are done in Goof Proof. Their numbers, the 9 and the 8 that you see here, is a two-color Goof Proof number. I know you can't see very well. The picture's kind of small, but it's I believe that's Kelly green with a gold outline. And then the coach there who's kneeling down, he's got a two-color goof-proof full front on his jersey. So goof-proof is a fantastic option. It's cost-effective. It presses quick. And trust me when I tell you, if you're doing a whole team of kids and you're doing a front, a back, like a name number back and a full front, that kind of thing. Trust me when I tell you that apply in 4 seconds. There are some people that will say, does it really make a difference? Does it really matter? 4 seconds, versus this many seconds. Trust me when I tell you that when you're doing a whole team, that little bit of time, that little bit of time really does make a difference. I promise. When you think about it, if you're only pressing for 4 seconds times how many presses you're doing times how many garments you're doing, in the end, it's definitely a time saver. So don't underestimate that speed factor there. So our goof-proof names, we call these express names. Our express names are featured in the following colors you see on the screen here. So these are the big popular colors, but then we've also expanded into some side colors as well. And we've done a little bit of everything here, honestly. If you've got a powder puff team going, we can do the bubblegum pink names. If you've got different let's say jerseys that are supposed to be replicas of certain popular teams. We've got definitely a variety of colors here to cover all those different options. Um, so now if you have a polyester uniform that you're trying not to scorch, you can take our express names, our goof-proof names, and you can press them at the ElastiPrint time and temperature to prevent scorching. Okay, the name won't magically stretch because it's not an ElastiPrint product. But if you think about it, the area where the name goes on a polyester jersey at the top of the shoulders there, that's not exactly the most stretchy part of the jersey. So in the end, even though it is a goof-proof name, you can press it at that ElastiPrint time and temperature, and you don't have to worry about cracking and all that good stuff because you shouldn't have. I mean, that's not part of the shirt that should be stretching a whole heck of a lot. So you can absolutely use our name product on the polyester uniforms without a problem. Okay, and they do only come in one color. At this point, the names are just a one color product. And of course, you can't have names without numbers. These are examples of our one color numbers. We feature a couple different fonts, but these are the single colors that the goof-proof numbers are available in. And you'll notice a lot of these are the same colors that the names are available in. So definitely very useful there. Now, I don't want to dwell on all of these color slides too long, otherwise we'll just drag this out. So keep in mind that if you do want a copy of this webinar, you can always shoot us an email, and I'll give you those instructions at the end of the webinar here. And we've also got a couple other little goodies that we're going to send out all of you who have attended and give you some resources for those of you who are looking for them. So if you do want a copy of the webinar, we can certainly get the PDF of the slides to you. But moving on. So the goof-proof numbers come in more than just single color. They also come in multi-color. So you see we do have a whole bunch of colors available here. Now the colors that we have available are based on sales. They're based on requests. They're based on popularity. So in the end, is it possible that there are color combinations you might need that we don't have? Yes, it is possible. And you are always more than welcome to shoot us an email or give us a call and say, hey, I wish you guys would carry this. And we will certainly take it into consideration. But in the meantime, the color combos that we do have are based on popularity and sales, as well as teams that have color combos that people regularly like to mimic and that kind of stuff. So as you're looking at these color combos, the first color is always the fill, the second color is always the outline. So that very first two-color one at the top left there is black/gold. So that would be black fill with a gold outline. All right. So ElastiPrints, if you recall, we were talking about ElastiPrints being a great option for polyester garments. They're a good option for garments that have a little bit of stretch to them. They're also just a good option for the polyester garments that you just need to press a little bit on the cooler side. There's polyester like the little guys here in the picture, James number 24 and the young man standing to his left. These are examples of polyester garments that aren't stretchy necessarily, but they are heat sensitive to some degree. And if you're not careful, you hit a goof-proof transfer on those polyester garments. The goof-proof will stick to it, but the problem is that 365-degree temperature point is going to cause a square to appear on your jersey. And I'm sure we've all done this. I'm sure we've all stuck a polyester garment into a press and burned a square or a rectangle onto the polyester, and that's not a fun time for anybody. So the way to avoid this is using the ElastiPrint product, which prints at a much lower temperature. So uh, now, I mentioned on the previous slide that our goof-proof name product could be pressed onto these polyesters and used at the ElastiPrint time and temperature. But we actually specifically make numbers for the ElastiPrints as well. So, and here's another little fun tidbit. If those of you who are familiar may notice that there are an expanded number of colors here. So our Champ Pro is the name of our primary ElastiPrint number style. And for 2018, we are expanding the color offering. So for those who have seen it before and you're looking at this list going, wait a minute, I don't remember seeing some of those, it's because we have expanded it. So that is a good thing. And again, this is all based on requests. This is based on popularity. This is based on what we know sells and what people have asked for. So but again, so these are the ElastiPrint numbers, the Champ Pro. So if you're pressing on a temperature sensitive polyester, you want to make sure the front is ElastiPrint, and you want to make sure whatever you put on the back is ElastiPrint as well. So you would make sure to purchase the ElastiPrint numbers as opposed to the goof-proof numbers. All right. So the last option that I gave you, if you recall, was CAD Prints Opaque. So the young man in the picture here is wearing a polyester garment. Now this is also heat sensitive, but the good news is the CAD Prints Opaque prints at a very low temperature as well, so you don't have to worry about scorching. But you'll notice the team in this case used a full color mascot. They've got a little animated tiger head there. So being full color, this is something that would not have worked out very well as a screen print. He would not have been full color. He would have had to be worked down into just spot color. They've also got what looks like a photographic basketball back there. It looks like to be a photo of an actual basketball. So this is something we would not have been able to achieve with screen printing, hence why we chose to do it with the CAD prints instead. So these are available as numbers as well. Now we don't have stock packs of the CAD prints numbers, but our customer service department can easily put together a number order for you in the CAD prints. So that is still an option. Not something we have sitting on the shelf back there, but it is something that you can easily do through us. You just identify to your customer service rep when you call in that you need CAD prints numbers, and they can walk you through the process lickety-split. So if your customer has chosen a uniform with spandex, lycra, or nylon content, get colorful. So if you recall on the previous slide, I told you that if you use spandex, lycra, or nylon, that you're going to be limited to having to use the CAD Prints Opaque. It's the one transfer type that we have that goes on those materials. And it's not just jerseys. We could be talking about, like I said, workout gear. We could be talking about different, I guess it depends on the sport too. If we're talking dance, then we know that there are certain fitted garments that dancers wear that would end up having to be something that has some stretch to it. So regardless, if you find yourself in a situation where you're using spandex, lycra, or nylon, and you have to use CAD Prints Opaque, remember that it's a digital product, so it doesn't matter how many colors there are. We're not going to charge you for more colors. It's not like screen printing. So take advantage of that. Make sure that if you're going to use a CAD print, get colorful. Do something crazy. Do something photographic. Use a rainbow. Use all the colors. um, and if your customer wants names, if your customer does need a name to go on the jersey, then you're going to want to just outright avoid the spandex, lycra, and nylon. We don't have an option for that, unfortunately. So if your customer wants a name, then you're going to want to direct them to polyester or cotton garments in that case, because our name product will work on the polyester, work on the cotton, but not the spandex, lycra, and nylon. And custom printing names, before anybody asks that question, custom printing individual player names in the CAD Prints Opaque would be incredibly pricey, enough so that it definitely would not be a viable option. All right, so let's talk about uniform colors and let's talk about a couple little rules of thumb here. Now, these are just suggestions. I'm not going to tell you that these are this is the gospel of uniforms, but for those of you who are new to this, for those of you who haven't had to bid out to a team yet or haven't had the opportunity, or maybe you just have the opportunity and you're going after it now, these are just a couple little things that you should keep in mind. And again, the picture here, this is another one of our Augusta Sportswear jerseys that you can purchase from us from our Transfer Express apparel selection. This is style 1552, the Stanza jersey. So here's a little rule of thumb. All uniforms are available in black, white, red, royal, and navy. The big five. Black, white, red, royal, and navy. You will find jerseys in those colors, bar none. Okay. If you need to go with other colors, if you need to go with colors that are outside those five, then just know that there's the possibility your jersey choices could be limited. There are plenty of jerseys that are developed by the different jersey manufacturers in the garment industry, new styles and new stuff that somebody comes up with the idea, but they don't want to carry it in every single color. So without fail, these five colors are the ones that people will start with, and most manufacturers will move on. Once the product has proven to be popular enough, they'll move on to create other colors. So something to keep in mind, that these are the five colors that are absolutely standard. These are the five colors that all uniforms will come in. Now, oops, there we go. So if you have a team that has an out of the ordinary color, pink and black. All right, so pink's not necessarily out of the ordinary, but it's not also what you would call your standard uniform color either, given powder puff has come a long way in the last couple of years. But the point here is, if you have a team that does have an out of the ordinary color, purchase a jersey that is a normal color. Like in this case, we've got the pink socks. We've convinced the customer, and this is again uniform style 1182, the sleeveless jersey. We've convinced this customer to go with a black jersey and then print the transfer in their out of the ordinary color, which would be pink in this case. All right. So in order to keep your jersey options open. Now, the reason for this is that if the customer had done a 360 here and said, hey, I want my pink socks logo to be black and white, and I want my jersey to be pink, you might be limiting yourself to your options in that case, especially if your customer has a preconceived notion of what kind of jersey they may want. So if you've got somebody that's got a crazy color, try to convince them to go with a more standard color jersey and then do the transfer in the crazy colors. Whether it be screen print or whether it be digital, doesn't matter. This is the better way to go, at least planning wise. This is the smart thing to do. This gives you a lot more options. And in the end, even if they give you two out of the ordinary colors, two things that you don't normally see together, peach and olive, terrible color combination. But in that case, then try to direct them to a black, a white, or a gray jersey, and then have them use the peach and olive for their transfer. So just some ideas. In the end, black and white and gray are great standard colors that you're going to find every jersey. So if you've got somebody who's looking for something specific, just bear in mind that you may have a hard time finding a specific style of jersey in a very specific, out of the ordinary color. All right. So this is a question that we get asked here at Transfer Express. Our customer service reps get this one from time to time. And we just want to clarify for you all what some of this terminology means. The garment industry has its own special words, and I've got some pictures on the next slide I'm going to show you to drive this point home. So before we look at the pictures, though, just to define the words. So when you're making a uniform choice, if you see the word compression, compression refers to a product that hugs the body. Now, I'll take it a step further, and just to put the image in your head, a compression garment is the garment that is supposed to squeeze you like a sausage casing, right? So compression is the stuff that's supposed to squeeze you. Now, there's reasons for this. If you ever look into sportswear, you do a little bit of digging. The reason for compression gear is that it actually gets the blood flowing. It actually gets the blood flowing to your muscles. It keeps you limber and loose and warmed up. Believe it or not, interesting technology behind garments, right? So that's the point of compression wear, all right? And again, it's meant to be very tight. This means it's super stretchy, okay? Fitted Fitted is different than compression. When you see the word fitted, that means it stretches to fit the body, but not squeeze the body like compression. So fitted is still stretchy. Fitted will still have a stretch to it, but it's not going to squeeze the body. Okay? Compression is going to likely be spandex or some combination of spandex, to where fitted can be just plain old polyester, such as a wicking garment, the Under Armour style stuff, that kind of thing. Then you've got a semi-fit. Semi-fit is exactly the way it sounds. It flows over the contours of the body. Not quite a plain old t-shirt, but definitely not to the point of a fitted or a compression garment. A semi-fit hangs a little bit, but still has some shape to it. This means it still has a little bit of stretch to it. And then relaxed, of course, relaxed just refers to the fact that it's kind of like a t-shirt, doesn't squeeze, doesn't hug, loose fit, etc. So let's stop and look at a picture example here. This is probably a tiny little bit blurry, and I apologize for that, but I think you get my point here. So if you look at the gentleman on the top, the very top left is a photograph example of what I mean by compression. So I'm sure everyone's going, oh, okay, I get it. So if you look specifically at his arms, that's where you can really see the difference. If you look at the compression versus the relaxed on the far end there, see how the compression actually squeezes his arms. You can see the shape of his bicep through the compression garment. The relaxed fit garment, meanwhile, you can see the sleeves just kind of hang there. Okay. So now if we had a fit example of the same gentleman, the fit example versus the compression, you see the sleeves squeezing his arms and kind of molding to the shape of his biceps. A fit shirt is not going to mold to the shape of his biceps. Would be a little bit tighter than the relaxed that you see on the far end, but not to the point of compression. Okay. And again, some examples for the ladies on the bottom there. In the end, you can see curves. You see on the fitted example, that fitted example is more tailored to her shape. Okay, so you can see more curve to her, to where the semi-fit is still more fit than a plain old t-shirt. There's still a shape to it that's that semi-fit is shaped to a lady's body. Okay. But then relaxed, you see relaxed is more like a t-shirt. Now that is still a lady style t-shirt that she's wearing, but the point is it's a t-shirt. There's not a lot of shape to it. It's a lot more blocky. It's a lot more loose. Okay. Now I'm pointing these things out because these are terms that if you're new to this, you might not be familiar. And these are all things, keep in mind, each sport has its own standards and the things that you see and the things that you don't see. There's not too many sports out there where you're going to see guys playing in a actual compression garment. Usually compression garments are actually worn under uniform. However, it is 2017, and this day and age, we see a lot more people using compression style garments as jerseys. So, hey, nothing wrong with that. But there are certain sports that have a tendency to go certain directions, right? Like we know that relaxed t-shirt on the far right for the gentleman, we know that that's a soccer style t-shirt. Now, it doesn't have to be. You could still make that into a baseball jersey, but just for the sake of standards and for the sake of what the sport would normally do. All right. So let's talk about sizes here. So if you're working with a youth league, some players may wear adult sizes. Be sure to choose a style in which both youth and adult come in. Now, this is one of those things that you've got to be mindful of depending on the age group you are working with. Now, if we're talking a whole bunch of little kids, you're doing a super young age group, this is kind of a moot point. But if we're talking about an age group where we're starting to get into middle school, when we're starting to get that 12, 13, 14-year-old, we know darn well that that's the point where you've got some of the kids that are still on the small side, and you've got some of the guys that are starting to get a little bit on the larger side. So if you've got that group, and it's not just the guys, it's the girls too. If you're working with athletes that are that age, be mindful when you're talking about jersey selection, because if you've got a coach who selects a jersey that has a youth size and 3/4 of the team fit into it without a problem, but they don't offer that jersey in adult size, then you're sort of up a creek at that point. The example that we're giving you here, this is actually my favorite example, because it's got some style to it too. This is got the camo sleeves going on there, so you've sort of got the traditional baseball look of the sleeves that are one color and body that's another color, so that's kind of slick, right? So that's style 1548 and 1549 on the Augusta section of our website. But just bear in mind, again, if you're dealing with an adult league, then this is again going to be a moot point because then you just need to stick with the adult size t-shirts. And again, if you've got small little kids, then you stick with the youth stuff, no big deal. But if you've got that magical age group that is right smack dab in the middle, be sure that you're presenting options that go both ways just in case. Okay. So this is one of these slides that's going to be super useful to everybody in terms of um, a download. If you would like to rewatch this webinar as well, I forgot to mention that. We are recording this webinar, so if this is a slide you want to come back to later, what you're looking at here, this is this is examples of sizing in inches. This is an example of sizing, and I've got centimeters here in the gray areas for the different benchmarks: extra small, small, medium, large, all the way up through 5XL. Adults, so that's like general unisex slash men's sizes, and then lady sizes, hips, waist, and chest. So this is just for reference sake. This is one of those things where if you have kids or you've been in sports yourself, then some of this isn't necessarily rocket science. But for those of you who've not done this before and are new to this industry and new to this world, this is a fantastic resource to have. If you want to get a better look at this later on down the road, um, again, we are recording this webinar so you can reference it later on down the road. It will be on our website at transferexpress.com. You can also shoot an email to our marketing group, and I'm going to give you that email address at the end here that you can get a PDF copy of the webinar if you would like. But this is just for reference. This is one of those things where every once in a blue moon, we'll get a phone call from a customer who it's their first merry-go-round here. They don't know exactly, reference sake, what size is what. So this is just some helpful benchmarks for that kind of thing. And then continuing the thought here with youth, so unisex slash boys, and then girls here as well. So same concept, but on the younger side of things. And again, just a good resource for those of you who are new to this too, who haven't ever had to do a uniform for children before. All right. So a couple more little vocabulary words that you may hear, and again, this is going to depend on where you shop for your jerseys. I encourage you to check out the Augusta apparel section at our Transfer Express blank apparel. But just to be clear on what some of these things mean. So moisture management. Moisture management became a real fun buzzword, gosh, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago now, give or take. So moisture management means that this fabric wicks away moisture, keeping your body cool and dry. So here's the funny thing about this is that a lot of fabrics out there naturally have a wicking to them. But moisture management garments specifically, what they're made to do generally is they'll pull the moisture off the surface of your skin and to the surface of the garment. So the whole physical point of sweat still does what it's supposed to do. It will still cool you down, but it's not going to get the fabric wet, and it's not going to have wetness touching you constantly. We know this causes rashes and smelliness and all sorts of other things that are unpleasant. So moisture management wicking is definitely a nifty feature. And a couple years back, this would have been a lot more rare. You would have paid a lot more for it. This day and age, there's a lot of wicking garments out there. They're not all made equally, though, let me tell you. So definitely be wary of who you're buying from, what brand you're buying. So another term you may hear is true hue technology, true hue. All this is referring to is that it is designed to prevent dye migration. So this is one of those things that lots of us have done before. The best example of this is red polyester. I've seen it happen so many times, so many times. Um, if you have just a plain old red polyester, especially if it's a real cheap off-brand knockoff type polyester, and you try to put a plain white transfer on it, we all know what's going to happen. You press that white transfer, no matter how opaque that white is, no matter how thick that white ink is, dye migration is when that red polyester turns that white transfer sort of a light red pinky color. All right. So when you see the phrase true hue technology, that's just referring to the fact that there's some sort of feature to that fabric that prevents the dye migration from actually happening. Okay, so this just means you don't have to worry about your jersey or uniform dyeing your transfer colors. It shouldn't be. Odor resistance, pretty simple to understand. It repels odors. It's usually something to the effect of the wicking, to be honest with you. It's usually just some sort of way that it gets the moisture off of you. A lot of them have been treated with different chemicals to make them antibacterial, that sort of thing as well. And then another term that is new the last little while here is four-way stretch. Four-way stretch just means that it is super stretchy, super elastic garment, allows for increased mobility. Um, Anybody who's played sports before knows that that loose-fitting stuff can be detrimental sometimes. So four-way stretch just refers to the fact that it is very stretchy. All right. So I know that this picture is going to be a little bit on the small side. Here's the good news. All of you who are attending, we're going to email this little reference guide to you. What this is a performance wear comparison chart. So what we're doing is I'm giving you the model numbers of some standard performance wear options from our Augusta apparel line, telling you what the material is, telling you what transfer type to use, and then telling you what different features it has, from the moisture wicking to the true hue technology to the four-way stretch, so on and so forth. This chart is fantastically useful. These are great options for jerseys. This is definitely gives you a great selection to give to your customer, and the model numbers, you could type those numbers straight into the search feature on our blank apparel selection, and boom, see the garments real easy like. So all of you who are attending today, you're going to get an email with this resource. But in the meantime, if you're watching the recording and you're thinking, oh my God, I want a copy of that, you can hit our blog at the URL below there, and you can download a PDF of it. So this is just us trying to make your life a little bit easier and giving you some great standard options. So some of these are wicking t-shirts, some of them are tanks, some of them are actual like compression gear. It's just 10,000 foot view stuff. Like I'm not giving you any examples of anything too crazy in terms of garment shapes and features and that kind of thing, but it's just a great general options to have. Great standards. These are the types of things that definitely fall into the better and the best section of our budgeting that we talked about earlier when we talked about good, better, best. All right, everybody. I hope that I covered something for everyone. I hope we talked about a little bit of everything for everybody. I appreciate you joining me today. Thank you for attending. I promised you that if you wanted to shoot an email to our marketing department and get a copy of the PDF of these slides today, the email address is info at transferexpress.com. If you have not checked our blog out, I encourage you to do so. blog.transferexpress.com. Our marketing team does a phenomenal job of putting out great content and interesting information, and our marketing team does a bang-up job. If you would like to watch a recording of any of our webinars, they are at transferexpress.com/webinars. And don't hesitate to contact us on social media. Visit us at trade shows as well. So next month's webinar is going to be on January 11th. So this is going to be it until the new year, guys. The next webinar is 21 ways we will help grow your t-shirt business in 2018. There are so many new things happening in 2018. I am totally not even being dramatic about this. As a member of the senior management team here at Transfer Express, I can promise you there are a lot of new things happening, from new products and new services to Gosh, I probably shouldn't give some of it away. Let's just say that there's a lot of things that we are adjusting to try and make your life easier. We have listened to your requests. We have listened to your things that you want us to do here at Transfer, and we are trying to make your life easier. So on January 11th at 2 p.m., I will join you to discuss what these 21 new ways we will be helping you are. It will be a fun webinar. There will be a lot of great information. I encourage you to join me. So again, I hope everybody got a little something out of their the webinar today. I hope it was helpful in some way, and I wish everyone a happy holiday season, and we will see you on January 11th. Thank you for attending, everybody.